Oh shit, that was some evil shit here. So I'm about to teach you all how to get that tone, so let's do the shit. Just as always, here we have our regular ass double track. 2 guitars, pan 96% left and 96% right, both routed to master bus without any sub buses. Both of them shits has exactly same processing model on it, so we'll review only one of them. First thing in chain is Revolver 4, we're gonna use this one for reamping. First thing is 808 Screamer with these settings. And right after we have Almighty 6505 and it sounds mad as fuck. Here you can see the settings of the shit, but I also tweaked schematics to get needed distortion, coloring and grain. This shit is some smart as shit and it's big as fuck, so I'll just put this preset at the attachment. You can see that cab section is bypassed and you all already know what it means. Keyfair impulse loader loaded with custom DC 404 impulse, check this shit. Already sounds pretty good even without post-processing, so I'll put this shit at the attachment too so you can get the shit. Pro Q here to get rid of some of that fizz and also a bit of that harshy zone at 4 kHz. Just a bit of console saturation with NLS, which works in Navo mode. And last EQ to fix another harshy zone provided by NLS. Damn, we murdering that shit. As you can hear, it's not really lead, more kind of ambient background lead or some shit, so check this out. We've got 2 channels. First one is main lead tone, and second one is octave lead, based on same DI that first one, but pitched 1 octave lower, and also this shit sounds bit darker. Both of them shits routed to lead guitar bus and that bus routed to master bus. So let's start from main lead. Revolver 4 with same preset that we have on rhythm guitars, and also same keyfair with same dope ass mix ready cabinet. Right after we have this equalizer, to focus mids a bit and also get rid of them harshy and fizzy shits on highs. Check this out. And last thing in chain, this simple delay. As I said, we use two versions of same DI, even though they have different processing and octave pitch. They still have pretty similar waveform, and this delay helps us to get rid of that little last phase shift between them tracks. I don't know if you can hear it, just trust me, there is some shit going on. Next. Lead octave. Revolver fourth with all flat here preset from Flathill Bank. Even though it's a factory preset, I'll put this shit at the attachment too. Now we get rid of them unwanted low and boomy sounds, resonance at mids, and clean up our high end. Check this shit. Lead guitar bus. First thing in chain is an EQ. Dropped low mids and boosted highs to make it more bright. T-Rax Black 76 limiting amplifier to get control on dynamics and also saturate the fuck out of this leads. Using all mode, and do you know what does it means? Let me tell you that shit. Once upon a time, when our grandfathers used to use real mic to record guitars and shit, there was such thing like real ass gear like real 76 compressor. I'm not gonna lie, them shits was heavy as fuck and also costs a lot of them money, so this shit is no joke. There was 4 different knobs for ratio setup. And one day one random ass dude came out to the studio and he was like, "God damn, I wonder what's happen if I'll push all of them shits at once." And he did that shit and he discovered this kind of mode that automatically make any kind of sound fire with dope ass saturation and shit. The end. So yeah, we use this one mostly to saturate our leads. Next, EQ here to smoothen up fire saturation of 76 on highs and also just a bit on mids. Check this shit. Next thing, chorus. H delay in ping pong mode to give some nice ass stereo space to our lead. Check this shit. NLS in Navo mode. And last thing here is pretty complex equalization on highs, to get rid of them resonances. I know that it can be hard to see the shit, and that's why I put all of them EQ presets at the attachment. After all that shit we have sent to big reverb, because as I said, this leads is some of that background kind of shit, so we put it in dark ass depths of the mix. We're gonna use Trillion for our bass, check this shit. Hardcore pause on this finger full range preset. And this time we're gonna use internal processing, because somehow I found it enough for this track. Here's the settings. Speaking of post-processing, we have this EQ here to decrease boomy lows, focus two important zones on highs, and also decrease some of them unwanted shits like fizz and resonances. Black 76 to get aggressive control on dynamics. Maximum ratio, fast release and fastest attack. Limit the shit out of this bass, cause you all know that dynamic sucks. Alright, I'm kidding. You'll know that in modern music bass guitar is some kind of keeper of low end tension and energy, so we use this motherfucker to avoid it of jumping out and fuck up all of our shits. NLS at the end. After all of that shit, it goes to master bus. And we also have just a bit of that sent to big reverb. Damn, that was tight, and I bet some of you all recognize this tone, don't you? Yep, Behemoth drum kit, but this time we're gonna use it slightly different way. Check this out. Superior Drummer Middle Foundry is our main drum tone. We also use Steven Slate drums for kick trigger and 2 additional snare triggers. So let's check them samplers starting from Superior. I'm gonna click the shit out of this kit so you can check names of used samples in this window. We're gonna process it externally, so there's no any kind of inserts and shit. We also using multi-out mode, which means that every mic or group of mix goes to its own outputs outside of Superior. This 3KD mix goes to SD kick channel, 4 snare mix goes to SD snare channel, hi-hat goes to hi-hat channel, 3 rag toms goes to rag toms channel, and 2 floor toms goes to floor toms channel. Booth overheads mix goes to overheads channel, and finally this 4 room channels goes to similar named channels outside of sampler. Just as always, I go nuts with setting up them bleed settings of each channel, but there's just too much of them shits to demonstrate, so you'll find this preset at the additional files. SSD kick trig. Kick 10 NRG sample. Room mic is turned off. Notice settings of envelope section. This way we keep this trigger short and tight, without any ringy tails. Snare SSD 1 channel. Snare Sensitone 6.5 sample. Room and overheads is turned off. And finally snare SSD 1 channel. Black Beauty 6.5 snare here. Room and overheads are turned off. Now routing. SD kick routed to drums bus, and that bus routed to master bus. SSD kick trigger and SSD snare 2 channels are both routed straight to master bus. SD snare, SSD snare and parallel compression FX channel are routed to snare some bus, and that bus is routed to drums bus. Hi-hat goes to drums bus. Floor and rag toms channels goes to toms level bus, and that bus goes to drums bus. Overheads goes to drums bus, and finally these 4 ambience channels routed to ambience bus, which goes to drums bus. So let's go for processing starting from SD kick. These 3 equalizers here is general shapes to get correct timbre and make our kick cleaner. So because of the fact that I already explained them in Behemoth's guide, I'm not gonna go in depth for them, just short ass demonstration pause on this, so just try to concentrate on timbre difference when I do this. Notice output level on this EQ, I did this to get correct incoming level on NLS at the end. SSL compressor gives it some of that nice ass breath, especially when it comes to double kick parts. NLS at the end. Notice that we use stereo mod, which means that left and right channels is processed by different spikes, and because of a little different in saturation of them, we get our kick bit out of center, so it's not kind of dead mono anymore. SSD kick trigger. First thing here is C4 multibin compressor. This thing here to get control on stacking lows, so only low-end band is enabled. Second plugin is NLS channel. EQ to reduce that whistly high-end resonance and also decrease low-end boomy rings. And finally T-Rax Classic Clipper. This thing gives us even more distortion and also limit kicks dynamics. And very last shit here is this shit, whatever this is. Used this thing just to reverse phase of kick. Let me reroute them shits to stereo out to show you what happens when with these two kicks summing on master bus. You can see that there is no any kind of delay between attacks and shit, but if you look closely, you can notice that they are out of phase, so I decided to reverse phase of trigger to fix this shit. And now summing in mono. Superior snare channel. First thing here is an EQ, general complex timbre shape with boosted lows and highs, plus couple of drops and problem zones which started to sound like a problem after applying this kind of boost on highs. And we also get rid of snares, resonances and boxy mids. Check that shit. Next thing is pair of SSL compressors. Just a small trick here for you all. When you need a lot of compression, it's better to put pair of compressors and let each one of them do half the level reduction work. Even though there is a lot of total compression, it works pretty transparent. Next thing, envelope shaper. Compressor brought up too much of that sustain, there is too much of that shit, so we use this joint to limit its length and get tight and short sound as a result. Next EQ here to get rid of them high-end clicky shits and also midrangy rings. NLS at the end. And there is also this simple EQ with high shelf filter, just to smoothen up the shit. Speaking of sends, there is send to parallel compression bus, so let's check what this shit is. That's how it sounds soloed. When it comes to mixing this sound with main snare, it gives it really nice midrangy texture. Check this out. First thing in chain, CLA 76 compressor. ALL mode and extreme attack and release settings really saturates the fuck out of this thing, but you already know the cause I'm teaching you all. Nice underground on mids though. Right after we have this EQ, which cuts out highs and also body resonance of snare. Check this shit. NLS at the end. After all of this stuff it goes to snare some bus, which we'll go for right after this one. Slate's trigger snare. First thing, SSL compressor with about 5 decibels of compression. Next one is an EQ, which cuts out them highs to avoid of too clicky attack. Now these 3 channels goes to snare some bus, and that's what happens here. EQ smoothen up them highs and reduce ringy resonances at mids. As I already said, this bus routed to drums bus. And there is also send to big reverb bus. Snare SSD 2 channel. This one here just to give some body to snare, because without this shit it sounds kind of too clicky and too thin. So first thing in chain is this simple EQ with low pass filter, to get rid of that click. NLS at the end with pretty big amount of drive. Also send to reverb. Hi-hat. Nothing special. Just an EQ with low cut filter to get rid of unwanted lows. Floor toms. First thing in chain is this complex EQ to get rid of them unwanted boomy resonances on lows and also smoothen up highs with slight boost. NLS at the end. Send to big reverb. Rack toms. Same work on low end and highs here. SSL compressor to take subtle control on dynamics. NLS at the end. Send to big reverb. And now both of them shits goes to Tom's level bus, which I use just as level controller for booth channels. No any processing here. Overheads. First thing in chain, EQ. Low cut filter and high-end boost. CLA 76 compressor to give it some breath and air. NLS at the end. Ambience. Most of ambience channels stays unprocessed, except for this one. Check it out. Sounds weird though, but check it out in context of whole ambience bus. Can you hear that something? It's kind of what I hear on lots of real drums recordings, they just not so clean. Like really, this damaged channel adds specific kind of character and bring life to the ambience. So what makes it so amazing? This envelope shaper, check this out. As you can see, it randomly reacts to louder peaks and pass quieter just as they are. It's damn weird, but for some reason I just like that. Right after we have this EQ with decreased midrange resonances for snare and also smoothen up that clicky high end, because obviously we get a lot of clicks here after envelope shaper. NLS at the end. Also send to reverb. Now all of these 4 channels goes to ambience bus. First thing here is CLA76 compressor, which works in ALL mode and give it lots of distortion and compression. Next 3 EQs here to make sound smooth on highs, on lows, and also make it more neutral on mids. NLS at the end. Drums bus. First thing here is CLA76 compressor. You can see that it's affected mostly by snare, so it's kind of glue it with rest of drum kit. Isotope exciter for bright tape saturation. This thing helps to our drums being heard in mix. As you can see, we use multi-band mode with same amount of distortion on each band. This way we won't get whole thing oversaturated if, let's say, lows will stack bit too much. Crammer tape. Really nice tape saturation from here, but this time we're not going for distortion, cause this thing gives us just a bit of that flutter and smoothness. And the last thing is SSL compressor, which glue whole drum kit together, and now it's ready to face that mix. Speaking of space, processing model is pretty simple. We have couple of sends to this big reverb bus, which is our actual reverb in this mix, so this thing is responsible for space part of our mix. That's how it sounds soloed. Here's the settings. Right after we have this little ass EQ which cuts out unwanted lows to avoid of frequency conflicts with other elements of mix. After all of this, it goes to master bus. And before we'll finally go for it, take a look on them levels and panning settings for the entire mix one more time. First thing in chain is NLS bus, which is emulation of analog console summing and also controller for all of them NLS shits in the mix. Check this out. As you can hear, we get pretty solid amount of swag here, even though we're working with death metal and shit, you know, there is nothing wrong with combining styles, so you can be metal as fuck and swag as shit at the same time. Second thing is subtle timbre correction by Isotope Ozone 5 EQ, which really helps us to glue them shits together and get correct timbre response from scratch. Just as always, I'll put them matching sessions at the attachment so you can nail that thing with combining styles and shit. Next, EQ works in mid-side mode, and what it does is simply filtering out all of them side low and shits, cause we don't need them. Second, matching EQ here works almost unnoticeable and really finalize that timbre work. Check this out. Next plugin is Isotope Major, just to decrease some of that stereo on mids and highs. Works pretty subtle. And last thing is our regular ass Pro L limiter. Same shit as always, transparent mode, about 7 dB of reduction and shit. So that's how we do the shit. For those of you who want to get an additional files pack, which includes Cubase Project, Mix Ready Guitar Impulse from this guide, pack of Isotope Ozone matching sessions, pack of Pro Q presets, Revolver 4 preset, and Superior Drummer preset, you will find all of them shits in my private post on Patreon, which will be available after pledging $1. By doing this you will also get access to rest of my private content and help me keep doing what I do. Link is in the description. Hope you learned thing or two from this guide. See you next time.